Welcome back to my channel, Gradient Labs. Today we're going to look at a question that is outside the regular A-level papers. This question is really hard. And look at this, 16 marks. I've never seen such a question in a normal A-level paper, and you wouldn't as well, but this is just for fun, and let's see if we can solve this complicated question. Okay, so let's look at the question. A curve C has equation y squared equals x squared over x minus 1. And x is a real number and x is greater than 1. Show that there exist exactly two tangents to C which pass through the point 1, 2 and find their equations. Wow, this is really hard. So the first step we have to do is differentiate it, because we have to find the gradient of the tangent. So let's do that. But as you can see, it is in y squared and x squared. So that is another part that is complicated. But I think we can get through that. Okay, so let's write it. Y squared equals x squared over x minus 1. We can square root on both sides to get y. Y equals the square root of x squared over x minus 1. But remember, because it is a square, so you need to add the plus or minus. Oops, the plus or minus. Okay, so y is equal to, because as you can see, the top part of the fraction is x squared, so we can just do a plus or minus x over the square root of x minus 1. So for differentiation, you can use u over v dash. This equation you have to remember is vu dash minus uv dash over v squared. Okay, so let's label it. Your u equals plus or minus x. U dash is plus or minus 1. V is x minus 1 to the power of a half. So v dash equals a half times x minus 1 negative a half. Why is that? Because first you put the power in front, you times it by the power, so half, and then the power needs to be minus 1 from the power, so a half minus 1 is negative a half, and because there's no coefficient in front of the x, so it just stays as x. Okay, so let's put it back in. So dy over dx equals vu dash. Vu dash is plus or minus x minus 1 to the power of a half, and then minus uv dash. Oh, okay, so because it's minus of plus or minus. It sounds complicated, but essentially what you have to do is reverse it. So instead of plus or minus, you change it to minus or plus x over 2 times x minus 1 to the power of negative a half. This is different because the first one is power of a half and the second one is the power of negative a half. Okay, we can simplify. Over v squared. So v is x minus 1 to the power of a half. So square it, that's just x minus 1. Let's simplify the expression. So because they divide by x minus 1, so that means this is plus or minus x minus 1, a half minus 1, because you're dividing by x minus 1, so the powers is a half and 1, so you subtract the power, so a half minus 1 is negative half, and then minus plus x over 2, and again minus negative a half minus 1, that's just minus 3 over 2. We can see that they have a common, we can see that we can factorize it. So let's take x minus 1 to the power of negative 3 over 2 outside, and then that is plus or minus x minus 1 minus or plus x over 2. Again, it's the same thing, because minus 3 over 2 plus 1 is minus 1 over 2. So yeah, and then we can simplify the right hand side bracket. So this is x minus 1 to the power of negative 3 over 2 brackets plus or minus, because x minus x over 2, that is what we do here is this corresponds to this, and then the bottom one, this corresponds to this. So we can just put plus or minus. So x plus x minus x over 2, that is plus x over 2. Okay, so the minus 1 stays the same, but on the bottom is minus, so on the bottom here must be plus. Okay, now the first step is done. Let's do the second step. Let's label this dy over dx in case we forget. Dy over dx. Okay, now we let's look back at the question. It says that it passed through the point 1, 2. 1, 2. So we can put it in the equation y1 minus y equals m of x1 minus x. Okay, and we know y equals to plus or minus x over the square root of x minus 1. So let's write it down. y1 minus plus or minus x over the square root of x minus 1 equals, what is m? M is just dy over dx because it is a tangent. So let's write it down. Negative 3 over 2 times plus or minus x over 2 minus plus 1. And then we know x1 is, oh wait, I forgot to replace the y1. What is y1? 2. And what is x1? 1 minus x. So again, we can factorize again. Let's write this as 2 minus plus or minus x, because x minus 1 square bracket is just x minus 1 to the negative a half. And then this side, because 1 minus x, that is just negative, let's use another color pen, that is negative x minus 1. And if this one is timesing minus x minus 1, again, minus 3 over 2 is the power, yeah? You plus 1. So what does it become? This becomes x minus 1 to the power of negative a half minus plus x over 2 plus minus 1. Why is it reversed? Because there's a minus here, so these are reversed. It sounds really complicated, but you just have to spot it. You just have to spot the important part, which is 1 minus x is just negative x minus 1. It's always grouping, separating, expanding, and then factorizing. It's just so many steps, but you just have to spot that, which is really complicated. Okay, let's continue. So let's, as you can see, we can factorize again, because the left hand side and the right hand side, they have common terms. So let's factorize again. So 2 equals plus or minus x minus 1 to the negative a half times negative x minus or plus x over 2 plus or minus 1, and then what, because the left hand side is minus, so we put it to the right hand side, which is plus now, so it's just plus or minus x. So we can, as you can see, both parts, so the first part and the second part, they all have plus or minus or plus. It sounds really complicated, but so what we can do is put the plus or minus in front of here, and then just oh yeah, and just look at the top part, because if the top part, they follow the same, that means the bottom part must be opposite. So yeah, we can just treat the top part, because yeah, I don't know how to explain this, but yeah. This is x negative x over 2 plus x, that is just x over 2, and then the top parts are plus 1 plus 1. And then let's rearrange it, because this is the power is in negative a half, so let's rearrange it. So if this is negative half, when you put it times it to the left hand side, that is becomes positive, equals plus or minus x over 2 plus 1. Okay, now we have now we're simplified it to only we have 1 plus or minus, so that means there's 2 possibilities. So let's label them as A and B. So A is oh yeah, we can square both sides, because you can see there's a half on one side. Wait, half on one side. So let's square it. So 2 squared is 4. X minus 1 to the power of half square is just x minus 1. And then square the right hand side. And then the first case we're looking at is plus. So the case A, we're looking at plus. So x over 2 plus 1 squared. And then case B is the left hand side still the same. So 4 times x minus 1 equals negative x over 2 plus 1. And then the whole thing squared. But as you know, when we squared, doesn't matter if the thing is positive or negative, because negative times negative becomes positive. So that means A is actually equal to case B. So we only need to consider one case, because it's the same. Okay, so let's expand it. 4x minus 4 equals x over 2 squared is 1 over 4 times x squared. X over 2 times 2 is x, and then 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, let's group everything to one side. So 1 over 4x squared, x minus 4x is minus 3x, plus 1, and then plus 4, because minus 4, so it's plus 4. So 1 plus 4 is 5, so plus 5 equals 0. And this is just a quadratic. You can use a calculator, but here I can just solve it by hand. So times 4, so x squared minus 3 times 4 is 12. 12x, 5 times 4 is 20. So how do you get something, two numbers that multiply to 20 but add up to negative 12? The only one I can think of is negative 10 and negative 2. So x minus 10 times x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 10 and x equals 2. Okay, so we finally get an answer for two answers for x. So let's look back at the question. It says x is greater than 1. So and x is a real number. Okay, so does it make sense? Our answer does fit the question, because they're both greater than 1 and they're both real. Okay, So let's continue solving it because it's asking about the equation of the tangent. So let's plug it back in because we already know x. Let's plug it back into this equation. Okay, y1 minus x over the square root of x minus 1 equals x minus 1 . Oh yeah, by the way, I eliminated the plus and minuses because the plus or minus. I just treated the top part. Oh, sorry, not here. I just treated the top part here. Why? This is because we already established that the two cases are equal, A and B. So I only need to treat one part. But still, if you can treat the top part or the bottom part, but you can't mix them up because if you mix them up, the answer is going to be wrong. So, okay, let's continue solving it. So, let's say x equals 10. Let's consider the first answer. So, y1 minus 10 over square root of 10 minus 1 is 9 equals to x minus 1. So 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 to the power of negative 3 over 2. That is just, okay, that is just 1 over 9 to the power of 3 over 2. That's just square root, yeah. That is just square root 9 to the power of 3. Square root of 9 is 20, square root of 9 is 3. 3 to the power of 3 is 27, so this is 27. Oh yeah, I can also write the square root of 9 here as 3. Okay, x over 2, so 10 over 2 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4, times 4, times x1 minus x is 10. So let's times everything by 27. Because the largest denominator is 27. So 27y. Yeah, we can just replace the y1 with y now. Minus 10 over 3 times 27. That is 10 times 9, so 90. Equals 4x minus 40. So that is 27y equals 4x plus 50. That is one of the equation. The second equation is when x equals 2. So y1 minus 2 over the square root of 2 minus 1 is 1. That's just 2 over 1, so it's just 2. Equals 2 minus 1 to the power of negative 3 over 2. That's just 1 to the power of negative 3 over 2. But 1 to the power of anything is still 1. So 1 times 2 over 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So times 0 times x1 minus x. But anything times 0 is 0. So y minus 2 equals 0. So y equals 2. And that's it. These are the two equations of the tangent that passes through 1, 2. The coordinates 1, 2. Yeah, this is a really complicated question. It took me many tries as well. And yeah, there's so many steps, there's so many places that could go wrong. Even the first part, even the differentiation, you need to use the u over v dash. And that is hard. And you have to remember the plus or minus. Although that doesn't affect the answer ultimately, but you still have to write it out because sometimes it does. So yeah, it is hard, and so much factorizing, rearranging. But yeah, in the end we got it. So yeah, this 60-mark question. Alright, if you figured it out yourself, congratulations. You are definitely an A-star student, and yeah, keep it up. Okay, see you guys in the next video.